Welcome to Flying for Flavor. Actually, welcome to my kitchen. I let Cynthia in the front door and she took over.
I did. I've been known to make myself at home many places. This is just one of the nicer places I made myself at home.
So we thought this would be fun. Again, I haven't asked her anything about her Australian trip that she just came back from earlier this fall. I guess it was late fall. And because it was areas that I haven't visited before, I wanted to kind of learn a little bit about it. And I thought if she's explaining it to me, might as well explain it to everybody else at the same time. And then I figured it's Friday, so we need snacks and drinks anyways. And we have our special guest, Rory, with us again.
Rory with us today.
She was at the, what was the episode?
Oh, it was the pumpkin spice episode.
Oh yes, the goddamn pumpkin spice. It is pumpkin spice season's over, people.
I've been still sending her all kinds of memes and stuff anyways.
Oh, God. Anyways, we'll explain a little bit about it later, but this is, so starting in 2019, you're probably going to see a little bit more of other places like this. We're not going to be necessarily in the old studio anymore. I wanted to have it a little bit more relaxed, and I've got a big kitchen, big space, so we're going to kind of do something here for now, the next few weeks, and then you'll start to see more places. We're going to be on the road, which will be a lot of fun. I want to talk a little quickly about industry updates because I posted a couple things. I think it was mostly on my personal page.
Yeah, don't know. No, you put it on Flying for Flavor too.
But I don't.
Because I was going to share it.
I did, but then I went into a little bit of a rant on my personal Facebook page about people not being fully aware or not taking it seriously when you hear from web designers, people on the news, or anything else about hacking, data breaches. If you have your own website, they're trying to hack in there. I actually posted a graphic, and I'll probably include it in the show notes just to show you as an example. So about every week, I probably have about 10,000 attempts of trying to break into my website from all over the world. And it's not one particular country. Like one time it'll be China. Like last week it was China. Another week, believe it or not, it was Spain. Another week it was Russia. Another week it was like the Philippines. It just kind of, it varies. But sometimes they're averaging like 5,000 attempts, 5,000 to 6,000 attempts a week, which is insane. So I had a bunch of tips and stuff how to go through there. But the Marriott hotel chain, specifically their Starwood hotel group. So it's Starwood. No, it's Starwood. Starwood. It's SPG is the name.
Starwood Preferred Guest.
Preferred Guest is what it is. So the SPG, I always used to call it SPG. So if you're a member, if you haven't received an email from them yet, either maybe your email address has not been up to date with your account, but they will be contacting people. I just got an email yesterday, the day before, saying that they're going to email those who are affected. But depending on what information you have stored in your account with SPG.
It's not just SPG, because I read further into it, like the actual notice, and they said anyone who made a reservation at any SPG or Marriott hotel in the last like 6 years or something. Like it's literally everyone who's made a reservation.
Well, and considering I travel quite a bit, I have stayed at a lot of Marriott properties, so I haven't received that email yet saying that our information has been compromised. I think it partly has to do with if it has been tied into my SPG account. I have the SPG account, but usually reservations are made under Norm. So I have to check my husband's, or get him to check his email, because if he sees it, he may just think it's junk mail and just to kind of ignore it. But anyways, keep an eye out for that kind of stuff and be very diligent about not clicking on things. One of the big things I always have to tell people, if you get an email telling me that your password needs updating, you never ever click on it to go there. There is no website that ever is going to send you an email to update your password. What's going to happen is the next time you go to that website, and if your password needs updating, then you'll get a pop-up notice telling you it's time to change your password. But Google's not going to send you an email saying change your password. SPG Hotels is not going to send you an email. Amazon's not going to send you an email. They're going to wait until you actually email in or try to log in. So just keep those kind of things in mind. Second guess yourself, double check, triple check, and be very wary and skeptical about things that are coming into your inbox. So email and social media is another really big one too, that people tend to believe not just believe everything that they're reading on there, but a friend of theirs sends them a notice. Like that new one's going around that, hey, I just noticed that I got a friend request from you, right? Please click and hold and share this or whatever to let other people know.
Blah, blah. Anything that says click and hold, just don't do it.
just don't do it. Just don't do it.
It's like the new millennium version of chain letters we used to get back in like 80s and 90s.
Oh, I know. So there's a lot of little things out there, and yes, some of them sound fun, they sound harmless, and you think, well, how could they possibly? But I mean, anyone who really wants to get into your computer will, and they will keep trying, sometimes 10,000 times
They
a week.
can have my debt all they want. Okay, let's have some fun.
Yeah, because
Let's
we're
go
drinking
downstairs.
purple drinks.
So purple drinks today.
Look at the color.
Cheers. How pretty is that?
Yay.
So I've
That
been
is so pretty.
with my business. Jacaranda Events was named after a tree in Australia, and actually I'll show you a couple quick pictures of that because they're so pretty. Uh-oh, where did I put the jacaranda trees? I think they're in here. But I'll definitely put them up on our video and people will be able to see it better.
You'll be able to see the videos. So every time we reference photos or videos, they are going to show up in the video version on YouTube. And if you just go directly to the show notes, if you're listening on a mobile device, you'll be able to just click on the link, the active link. It'll take you right to the page. And we have an entire photo gallery and all kinds of stuff.
All kinds of fun stuff.
So you'll be able to see everything that she's talking about.
So yeah, so my business is named after the jacaranda tree. So I'm going to show Steph some pictures, and I'll show you guys as well
pretty.
too. So it's a purple tree that is located primarily in Queensland. I've read South Africa quite a bit. Those are the two main places where jacaranda trees are. So when I named my business, I wanted to bring something back from our experience of living in Australia. So I've got a couple more pictures. There's that was from along the river. They dot the Brisbane River all the way across. It's stunning.
Yeah, there was that one, almost like an aerial view.
That's the next one. So that's from, this one's a stolen photo from social media. I'll have to find out exactly who I stole it from.
So nobody tattle when you see it on
so
the show notes.
It is. I do not own the rights to this photo. But what I love about it is this is University of St. Lucia, so University of Queensland and St. Lucia, which is a suburb of Brisbane.
Yep.
And it's like literally the street is lined with these beautiful purple flowers. They only bloom in October, which is when my birthday is.
Coincidental.
Right. And they bloom really, really bright, really, really fast, and they're gone. They're literally like up and gone. I was actually, when I was there at the beginning of November, it was like the tail end of jacaranda season. So
it almost reminds me of a lilac bush
yes
in that color,
and
right?
no. Yeah,
Like
yeah.
from this, that's the color that it reminds me of.
What it stresses me out so much is that the photos do not even remotely do it justice. It's not really as purple as it comes out in photos. It's got like a blue tint to it, but it's not like a cornflower. Like it's this, I say purple is probably the easiest, but like anyone who like lives in an area with jacarandas knows it's got like a cornflower blue to the purple.
Oh.
It's a beautiful color. Anyway, so because we do a lot of special events, I've always wanted, I keep hitting my new microphone. I've always wanted to have a purple drink, but I don't, like we've tried with blue curacao and stuff and it has not worked out at all and it's a horrible liqueur anyways.
Sorry, not knocking the blue
Yeah,
curacao.
and it's not my thing. Lots of people love it. It's a great gateway into other real cocktails, but
it's the gateway drink.
So while I was in Brisbane, I found this ink gin. Don't know what kind of ink it is. I didn't really look into it that closely. We'll post a link about it in the show notes. But I actually saw this drink on their Instagram. And I was like, oh my God, I need this. I don't know where it is. So I hunted down at the local bottle shop and brought home a bottle of ink gin. So we're having a gin and tonic with ink gin and fever tree tonic. And it is so good.
It's so pretty.
And it's so pretty.
It's very girly. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure like there's a lot of females out there, brides to be or whatever, that this is probably one of their colors. And like, how could you possibly get the color of that purple
That
into
purple's
thing,
hard
right?
to get. So I've been working on trying, I know I can get it out of the UK. I know we can get it in Australia. Mm-hmm. The challenge we have with Canada is the import laws.
Oh yes.
It's like, I even called, I'll show in a bit a Prosecco that I really like there. And I even called the winery because it was a smaller winery. And I'm like, so if I wanted to ship, they won't ship to Canada.
No. It's not even just our import laws. I've had a few of them. They'll say, well, we're in Canada. We ship to BC all the time. And I'll say, yeah, no, we're Ontario. I'm like, oh, yeah, no. Yeah. They're very quick to say no.
Yeah. And I even looked it up on the LCBO website. And they're like, we're going to triple the cost of the bottle minimum. And I just went, nah, I'll just, maybe have a friend import it for me or something.
Yes. So if you're traveling anywhere, those things save room in your suitcase.
Absolutely worth it. Mm-hmm. So that's our one drink. And a little bit later on, I'm going to mix up the cocktail that I saw everywhere in my travels. So there's definitely a theme to the booze in my travels, and we'll go through that in a sec because I may have drank a fair amount. So
As
one of
one
the things
should.
that I wanted to share about this trip to Queensland is people have heard on the show multiple times. I've mentioned that I used to live in Australia. We lived there for 3 years, from 2009 to 2012. And I really left a piece of my soul back there. Like, I talk about it all the time. I miss it. I think about it all the time. It's always in my thoughts. And a girlfriend of mine bought me a bracelet and had the longitude and latitude address? Coordinates, thank you.
You're welcome.
It's been a long time since I took geography.
Words are hard.
Words are hard. It's Friday afternoon. I'm tired. So with the coordinates on a bracelet, and I wear the bracelet all the time. So what I did when I was there is I visited our old home and took a picture of the bracelet in front of the house. So there's a special personal touch to this
That's cool.
kind of
That's
trip
a good
that
idea.
you'll see throughout. So that's kind of when you see that weird photo there, that's why. So that was my favorite photo. And then I took a picture when I was at Lone Pine, so one of the animal conservation areas, of a picture of me and saying how far I was from Canada, which is 15,300 kilometers. So I was a little far from home when I was there.
Which is okay.
Which was okay. It was really lovely and it was very restful. So you had a few questions for me. So why don't we answer some of your questions, then we'll get into some more of my toys.
Yeah. Okay. So how about, because I knew I know where Queensland is, but I didn't know specifically where you were going. So maybe we can kind of describe to people when they're even listening to this on the audio podcast, visualizing a map of Australia, where exactly you were.
Absolutely. So if you're looking at the map of Australia, everyone knows that kind of ovally kind of shape with the bumps on the bottom. It's kind of like a bum. It's on the eastern coast. So the right-hand side, about the middle, is the easiest way to describe where Brisbane is. It's in between the Sunshine Coast and the Gold Coast, which are two of, in my opinion, the most beautiful beach areas in the world. The Gold Coast is home to Surfers Paradise. You see lots of surfing competitions going on, nightlife and touristy and heavy kind of fun-having kind of experiences. Sunshine Coast, a little bit quieter, a little bit more relaxed, kind of it's that more beachy resort town feel that you think of when you think of the beach. So where we were on this particular trip, we were in Noosa, which is about an hour and 45 minutes north of Brisbane. Mm-hmm. So I've got another map that we can pull up as well too that shows kind of where Brisbane is and where Noosa is, and we also visited Maroochydore because that was where we did a lot of holidaying when we lived there. It was Maroochydore.
What's that called?
Maroochydore, Mooloolaba.
Oh my
Lord! So one of the cool things about Australia is all the names of the towns. Yamba and Toowong and Drupili. It was actually a lot of fun to say the names of places. And literally on the Toowong sign, one of the Toowong suburb signs, it actually says Toowongs, and someone has painted in "Don't make a right."
I know. Sorry. It's one of those things that's a given that just follows in the joke
Absolutely, yeah. Like Tangalooma. We went to Tangalooma multiple times. It's an island across from Brisbane in the ocean, and they have tons of touristy things to do there. They've got a resort, and that's where I went when we lived there, and we actually got to feed dolphins. And we rode segways on the beach.
Well, that sounds classic. That sounds like classic resort living.
Right.
Dolphins and sea-doos.
I also included a map for people who are curious as well too, because we did do one road trip when we lived in Australia. We drove from Brisbane down to Sydney with my family. 12 hours in a van with my children was the worst idea we ever had, literally. But
they were younger back then too.
Oh no, that would still be hell. I'm pretty confident. But yeah, so we drove from Brisbane and we literally hit all of these places. So Byron Bay, Port Macquarie, Newcastle, all the way to Sydney. And what a great trip. We got to see all the big things, a bunch of big things in Australia. Queensland is really big for big things. There's the big pineapple, the big banana. There's the big prawn, but I think the big prawn might be in New South Wales. All these big things, so we experienced a lot of those when we lived over there.
I don't remember seeing any of that stuff.
Oh my goodness! So I've got another graphic that I stole that I can share with you that has a bunch of big things, and it made me giggle. I'm like, oh my god, I missed so many big things while I was there. So that's where we were, kind of geographically. It is a long flight. There's a photo in here that we can probably insert at this point where we talk about how to survive a 17-hour flight in coach. It's not fun. Especially on the way home when my TV didn't work or they didn't have the TV thing.
Oh my gosh.
It was just not, it was brutal. So I tend to binge watch movies. I also tend to take a pill and a shot, which didn't even help on this trip. I didn't sleep at all.
Yeah, can't do
So you'll see there'll be a picture of a koala and looks like he's surviving his trip barely. So it is a long flight. I will acknowledge that because a lot of people that I've spoken to about traveling there, they're like, oh, I would never do that flight. I'm like, honest to God, 17 hours of your life and it's so worth it.
Correct.
It really is.
And there are ways, we managed to negotiate, depending on the airline that you take to go over there. Some of them now have almost like auction type sites where you can auction off your upgrade. So there's no longer the days where
You're telling me this now?
you were so in your packing zone. So they had, but some of them had auction sites and some of them just didn't. So depending on which airline you were taking, and you were taking a multiple airlines.
We were. It was a messy trip. Yeah. It was a messy trip.
So when we, because we connected through Los Angeles on the way there, I believe. I think it was Los Angeles on the way there.
It's usually either LA or Vancouver. But newly, Houston now has become a big hub for going over there as well, too.
Oh, yeah. I'm wondering if I did Houston on one way.
We came on the way back through Houston, and they announced that, what did I say, it was the 5th or 6th longest flight in the world from Houston to Sydney.
That's crazy. Yeah, I think it was on the way there, we managed to negotiate up to, I mean, it's not first class, but I guess it would be considered business class.
Yeah, at least we can get into where the seats are a little bit bigger.
But it was a matter of walking up to the gate, and it was just, hey, do you have any seats left? And they made a couple calls, and they said, how about $400 each? I'm like, oh, we will take it. It's going to break us because, you know, I mean, it's already costing us expensive to get there. But if I can sleep, because I get jumpy legs, and it's a really big deal for me to make sure that
my jumpy legs were brutal when I was on the plane.
Yeah.
But I survived it. You know, and when you're doing a long flight like that, plan to land in the morning. We always fly like a red eye type thing where we land in the morning. So it keeps you up throughout the day, force yourself to stay awake, and then you can reset your clock relatively more quickly. But I mean, it is what it is. You just, have some drinks, but bring your credit card when you go on the plane because they don't take cash anywhere. They don't take
cash anywhere anymore.
That's always a crisis for us because we don't tend to use a lot of credit cards. But we had one just specifically for this trip. Drink what you want, eat what you want, bring lots of, load some stuff up on a tablet, pick a game.
It's called plan accordingly.
Absolutely.
So if you were going to lock yourself in your house, right, for a good 20 hours or 24 hours, you figure travel time, like to and from the airport, that's where I would be planning things out, saying, okay, if I didn't have just access to my TV and my usual stuff, how would I survive throughout the day? I would have things downloaded or whatever. So it would be an example of, let's just say someone said they're basically going to cut your power, right? So you wouldn't have access to your Wi-Fi, you wouldn't have access to whatever. Prepare for that.
But you know what? You're not even cut from, like if you've got a tablet, download your latest, like Netflix.
Yeah, but that's what I just meant by as opposed to relying on streaming services. But Netflix you can download, which is great. Depending on the airline, some of them actually can buy Wi-Fi service by the day.
Some of them you can.
You can either do it by the hour, by the day, or for your entire flight. So you have a choice of like different options. And basically you charge a credit card and then you can be browsing. I think I watched some kind of really geeky live court thing.
You were there.
When I was on the plane last time.
I watched so much.
Like that.
I don't even remember what I watched. I watched so many documentaries and just, you can listen to podcasts. Like there's so much. So there's lots you can do to entertain yourself. And just as long as you prepare for it, you survive it. I mean, there are not a lot of mums out there who wouldn't like die for 17 hours apiece without anyone talking at them. Honestly, that's how I looked at it.
Yeah.
It's like no one's talking to me for 17 hours. So I didn't even get to sit with my husband. So I literally, it was actually, of course, so men, let me just talk to you for a minute, okay? This man spreading, I know it's a thing. But let me just tell you, I mean, I'm not a big girl, not, super small girl anymore. I was in the middle of the plane, in the middle seat.
Oh no, it's the worst.
Two really lovely, really kind gentlemen, one on each side of me. They were just very, like, and sometimes you sit beside people, you're like, oh, I've got to sit beside this person for like 17 hours. They're very nice people, very, just nice, I don't know, nice. But they literally both, when they fell asleep, so I mean, in all fairness, fully man-spreaded, and I had this much space. So just be mindful of that man-spreading when you're on a plane, because it's not comfortable for the people around you.
It's like, how do they... It's a matter of like, how can you can't really do anything when they fall asleep though.
Well, that was the thing. And then I was afraid to move because I didn't want to wake them up. And I'm talking about now I might have to touch some man I don't know's knees. Like it was, how does this go? So I just kind of did this for the whole flight.
Or this upper thigh.
Yeah, I was just scared. I was like, I don't know where to touch. I don't know where your wife or girlfriend is. And my husband's not worried, but I don't want to get in trouble. It was pretty funny. So, I mean, I say that with all the love. I mean, and I also can't say anything because when Mark and I were on our way back, I was going to put her down.
Yep.
We'll have to pause it for a second because she's freaking out, so she might have to pee. There you go. Okay, sorry. So I can't say too much myself because on our way back, I did get to sit with Mark, and we had an empty seat, and I may have spread over all 3 seats.
Because you can.
On top of Mark. So Brisbane itself, Queensland as a state is known for, you basically got all of these regions of geography in one space. You've got desert, the further in you go.
Yep.
You've got tropical rainforest kind of in the middle, and then you've got your beach on the outside, which is kind of cool. They have 2 seasons, wet and dry. But it's like typical, like would you think of it like a resort? That's what the weather is there all the time. So it's always warm, really, really hot in the summer. So if you're not cool with heat, stay away from there at Christmas time because it is hot.
Yes, don't forget it's the opposite of what's
reversed because it's the southern hemisphere. But when I went, it was like the perfect time to go because it was spring. So it was just starting to get up where it was between 20 and 30 every day, but it wasn't freezing cold at night. It was just really lovely weather. And we probably looked a little bit crazy because we were hitting all of the pools and the beaches. The locals were starting to, but maybe not as crazy as us Canadians
were. Screaming, I'm a tourist.
Exactly. Great Barrier Reef is off of the coast of Queensland as well too. So I sent Steph some pictures of us in our stinger suits from when we went.
Hot, baby.
We are so hot. We called my children. You'll see them there. They look like sperm with their hoods on. So that was to keep them safe from the stingers because when you are in Australia, everything that can kill you lives there. It's not like here where you've got the odd squirrel running across or chipmunk or whatever. I mean, there it's spiders that can kill you and snakes that can kill you. And it was so funny to be, when we drove up to Noosa with, we were very lucky because my husband is close to or has worked with his bosses for a very long time. So each of his bosses drove us one way, so we had to chat with them and catch up. And instead of having to take the big bus with all the people, which was kind of awesome. Mm-hmm. But so we were talking about, their summer homes and when they go, before they go in, they'd have to go and do a walk around. They'd have a shovel outside just in case they had to chop the head off a brown snake. And I'm like, what is the matter with you? But this is what Queenslanders are like. And this is why I love Queenslanders. They are just game for, she'll be right, mate, off we go. And they just do the thing. It is amazing to me. And I think that's what I love the most about specifically that area of the country, is that your Queenslanders are, in my experience, are down to earth, go with the flow. We had, when we lived there, in 2010, there was a major flood across Queensland. It made the national news, and the Brisbane River was flooded right out. Our neighborhood was completely underwater. My kids' school, the entire first floor was underwater. Our home, we were lucky, we lived on a hill, and our landlords who owned it had said they specifically bought there because in 1974 there had been similar flooding and they wanted to be above that floodplain when they bought. So we were good. We couldn't get home that year because we were here for Christmas, and our neighborhood was, because it was flooded, we couldn't get home. So we ended up having to stay here an extra week, and that's when I got to fly home first class.
Oh.
First class with the beds and the
nice.
Towels, and it was crazy. So, but when that happened, Queenslanders are like, okay, mate, that sucked. Let's just do the thing. And they called them the Mud Army. And people were literally going from house to house helping people clean out their houses.
Oh, nice.
It was phenomenal to see how the community rallied around and got back up and just did their thing. And they were like, you know what? It is what it is. Today I got to get, my shit cleaned out of my house. And then they were going to the next house saying, okay, how can we help you? Where can we go? And it's pretty amazing to see how the community came together. They've had another flood, not quite on that scale since, and it's really impacted a lot of the businesses in the neighborhood where we used to live. Mm-hmm. Although there's been a lot of changeover in businesses, which makes me sad because we missed some of our favorite places. But it certainly created a lot of financial hardship. But again, this get up and go with the flow that these Queenslanders have. They're pretty amazing people. They really are.
I'm impressed.
So also in Queensland, you've got Australia Zoo. Oh. Everybody knows who the crocodile hunter is, Steve Irwin. That is not how everyone talks there, but I did meet a few people who were very Steve Irwin-like. But so Australia Zoo we visited a number of times. My son's birthday and Robert Irwin, his birthday are around the same time, so they'd always have a week-long thing at the Australian Zoo. So 2 years in a row we went for my son's birthday, and he got to celebrate with Robert, basically.
Because you're on a first name basis by that point.
Right? Everybody knows Bob. So that's Queensland in a nutshell. Like I said, we went to Noosa, which is a bit more of a resort town. So Noosa, a lot of our friends in our neighborhood had have homes, or they'll vacation in Noosa. Pepper's Resort is a really popular one. It's where my husband was, and he stayed.
Is it like the Muskokas of the area? I'm just trying to visualize what the
like the
resort
whole
area
Sunshine Coast would be like the Muskokas.
Okay.
Because you've got holiday homes. Like if I have the opportunity to retire to Australia, my husband said he's not going. So once he kicks the bucket, I'm going to live on the Sunshine Coast.
Okay.
Someday I will. And if I don't live there, I'm going to at least have a condo on the Sunshine Coast, because it's just such a beautiful space that just I can't even describe it. And we'll have some pictures and we'll talk about it a little bit. But yeah, it'd be similar to that, like a vacation area for that area. But I mean, half of Australia, quite frankly, is vacation area. Like because all of the population lives around the outside of the country, you're so close to beach almost anywhere you are, right? Mm-hmm. So we were in Noosa for my husband's company. Oh, I don't have some of my beach photos. Oh, the other one. We were there for my husband's company at a conference. And so I had the opportunity to kind of get together with two of the other wives. Mm-hmm. One I'd never met before. One I do know from Sudbury. We hadn't had a lot of chance to hang out. But this is something else I can say. When you travel alone, the people that you meet, it's pretty cool. You get to share these experiences and connect with them. And, the one was from Brazil and had never, ever been to Queensland. I'm like, let's go do some things. So I took her around to a few places. And when we were in Noosa, we did shopping together and eating together. And it's so cool how this shared commonality of a new experience. Oh, so Noosa, so beach town. So I'm going to share a video with you of my experience of navigating in Noosa. And so it's not a very big town, like most of these little towns. Most of our suburbs in Brisbane aren't huge because there's like a bazillion suburbs in each city. So I checked on Google Maps before I left how far I would be from the hotel where we were staying versus my husband's resort, the beach, Hastings Street, which is the major shopping and eating precinct in Noosa. And I just want to point out there that Google Maps is a total liar. and I'll show you why. So let me play this video for you. Okay, so let's talk about walking in Noosa. Walking in Noosa, if you map it out on Google Maps, it's like, oh, it's mostly flat. It takes you 10 or 15 minutes to kind of walk wherever you're going. It sounds really lovely. What they don't tell you is that back there, we've been walking downhill for the last 10 minutes. 10 minutes straight downhill. So walking back is going to be sheer hell. So traveler's tip, when you go on vacation in Noosa, in the Sunshine Coast, it is hills everywhere. So be prepared to work those hamstrings. Maybe wear some flat shoes, maybe even wear some running shoes, or grab an Uber. I'll let you know how we made out at the end of the night. So I promised an update on the great Noosa Hill situation. So I'm here in Noosa on the Sunshine Coast of Queensland, and if you can see behind me, Google told me that this walk was mostly flat, and Google lied because we're literally going downhill for about 1 kilometer. So I know the last time I recorded a video, I was like, oh, well, we'll see how we go when I come back up this hill. And I have to admit, we didn't come back up this hill. We decided that Uber was the way to go. It's not too bad. Uber's super plenty, or kind of everywhere here in Noosa. So we decided that Uber was the way to go. So, as a traveler's tip, if you're thinking about coming and traveling to Noosa and you are as not fit as I am, then I would definitely recommend getting your Uber set up and walking downhill and taking advantage of the lovely Uber drivers to get you back up the hill again. So Google Maps is a liar. So that was my very frank in the streets. What did I get myself into? And I'm not exaggerating. From where we were at the, oh my goodness, what was the name of was it the Noosa International Resort is where we stayed. And my husband was at Pepper's Resort.
Okay. It
was uphill both ways. So basically Noosa is literally like up and down everywhere you go, no matter where you go. So just be prepared for it. Like I said, have your Uber ready to go, or be fit. Be more fit than I am, because other people walked up and down those. There were people like jogging up the hill with weights, and I'm looking at them going, what is the matter with you? Crazy. So I want to talk a little bit quickly about the beaches, and I had some photos as well too that I can show you, and I think I've shown you already. But we'll take a look at some of the photos of the beaches. So Not kidding when I say the beaches in Australia are the most beautiful beaches I've ever seen. Some of the water is like a teal blue. Literally, the beaches are white and clean. I don't know if it's the cities that do it or the surf lifeguards or whoever it is that is doing it. They're doing a fantastic job of keeping those beaches clean and safe and beautiful. You do have to be careful when you're on the beaches because you can step on all kinds of things that can still kill you. Don't be worried about that. You can die anywhere.
I can't believe I've had too many warnings already. We're like only 20 minutes in.
So to tell you about being worried about going in the water, and I mean, let me just clarify. My kids and I have been on the beach many, many times, been in the ocean water many, many times. When you're there, the surf life saving clubs are all volunteer run. It's incredible. They've got these yellow and red flags that they put up, and if you swim between those, the tide isn't too bad, and they can keep an eye on all those kinds of things. But we were on a trip with my husband's previous company when we lived there in Tingalooba. Tingalooba has, if you Google Tingalooba wrecks, you'll see there's like a bunch of old boats that sank that are still there. I don't know why they didn't raise them up, but they've been there forever. I've never snorkeled. I'm not a strong swimmer. I'm nervous. I might be a strong swinger, but not.
I'm so keeping that
in. There's the outtake for this episode. It's always me.
That's fantastic.
Okay. I may not be a strong swimmer, but this was a cool opportunity because I love history and I love old things and how things are different in different areas. So I did put my strap on the snorkel and got in the water with no stinger suit like you saw earlier that my kids and my husband and I were dressed in when we were at the reef. And we were swimming out to the reef, or to the wrecks, and it was maybe, 500 meters. It wasn't very far. And we're swimming. I'm doing my little doggy paddle action. And I said to my husband, I just feel really off. Like something just feels, you just get that like heebie-jeebie kind of feeling of like something doesn't feel right. And I'm like, is there like seaweed? Like it's not that shallow here. I couldn't touch where we were. So I'm like, it's odd that I've got, and I'm like, so I stick my face in, I don't see any seaweed or anywhere. I'm like, what am I rubbing again? Like, am I crazy? Yep. I thought I was having like a psychotic break. I mean, and I've got some mental health issues. So, it's not that far from a possibility. But I was like, you know what? I'm just not feeling right. And I was just concerned that my anxiety was acting up. And I thought, you know what? Instead of this escalating and having a really awful situation happen, I'm like, I'm just going to go back to the boat. You go back. You go ahead to the wrecks. There's a bunch of people who were still swimming that way. I'm like, I was going to go back to the boat. And Mark had looked underwater a few times and kept saying, no, I don't see anything either. I don't see anything either. And so, but he's like, yeah, let's go back to the boat. And I'm like, no, go swim, do the thing. He's like, no, I'll go back with you. So as we're going back, okay, not a strong swimmer, this brainiac's trying to grab my hand. Why are you trying to hold my freaking hand when I'm trying to swim back? I'm nervous. I'm uncomfortable. The doggy paddle takes 2 hands. Like, I was like, what is your problem? And my husband's not like that. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, what is... So we get back to the boat, and I'm covered in a red rash. Both arms and one of my legs. And I'm like, this doesn't look right. I'm like, maybe I was allergic to something in the water, and that's why... He's like, yeah, no, you were swimming in a school of jellyfish. They were babies. That's why I'm still here.
But still, I was just
That's why I'm still here.
So lucky.
But now let me tell you this story. This is where these Queenslanders come into play, right? When my son used to play rugby, if he got an injury, they like literally take their water bottle and squish water and go, she'll be right, mate, off you go. And that was it. Like there was no worry about injuries. So I'm like, is someone gonna pee on me now? What's happening? Like, and I'm like, do you have some antiseptic? Because my skin is burning at this point. It's like a sunburn, kind of itchy, probably what poison ivy would feel like, I think. And I'm like, I just got stung by like a bazillion jellyfish. And the captain, she'll be right, mate. Just put some water on it. I'm like, water's not gonna do shit. I was just in the water. So yes, sometimes there are scary things in the water. It's just about awareness again. And in this case, I felt uncomfortable. And thankfully I listened to my uncomfortableness. I would have been fine because apparently the babies don't sting as much as the big ones because I'm still here.
Yep.
But just it's an awareness around that kind of stuff that you want to have. So also in Noosa, I tried a new food. We talked, was it last year, our big try one new thing?
Yes, it's hashtag one new thing. That's the that's the theme of this year, which is almost over.
Was it this year? Yeah. Okay, so I did my one new thing. And so I technically have tried an oyster before, but I literally blocked the memory
on purpose.
I used to do these foodie weekends at Deerhurst with Chef Michael Smith. And Chef Michael Smith is known for oysters and
Seafood. That's
seafood from the East Coast.
Yep, he's PEI
And so he always had this massive, in the center of this event, he had this massive bar, like we're talking the size of this room,
Yep.
covered in oysters and ice. And you'd learn to shuck them. But he'd give you this little card, and somewhere I have this card, I got to pull it back out. I wanted the card. It was like just to say
you did
I had the card. So I shucked it and I struggled and I got the oyster open. I was so proud. I was like, and he's like, okay, yeah, no, you have to eat it. I looked right at poor Chef Michael Smith. I said, fuck you. I'm not putting this in my mouth. He's like, you want the card? You got to eat it. I'm like, I hate you so much right now. And I mean, I love this man. Like, I genuinely have a big crush on him. And I was like, fuck you, I'm not eating this. So now we got our E, by the way. You're welcome. But so I did slurp it back. I think I did it with Tabasco and a little bit of like Clamato to like
mask it,
which it didn't, because I remembered. So these were a Queensland style oyster called Kirkpatrick.
Yes.
And so Kirkpatrick oyster has barbecue sauce. It's like a smoky barbecue sauce typically there, and bacon. And bacon there is more like our pea meal kind of cut up.
Okay.
Like a thicker,
ham.
Chunky, kind of like a smoky, salty ham
Yep.
kind of thing. So yeah, so this is me trying the Kirkpatrick oyster.
And you still, you know what? For you, it's got to be the texture.
Probably.
Because it doesn't matter. I mean,
I love bacon. I love barbecue sauce.
Because you can't really, I mean, the bacon and barbecue sauce is going to mask the taste. Because there's not a lot of taste to an oyster aside from salt.
It's totally the texture. Because you see when it hits, like at first I'm like, oh.
Have you had a fried oyster?
The reaction. I have not.
See, that's where I gotta get. So I think you need to work backwards. So you need to do like
so
oysters
see, Chef
Rockefeller.
Michael Smith started me hardcore.
Yeah, you did oysters Rockefeller, fried oysters.
What's Rockefeller?
There's a various, but it's basically like a kind of like a cream sauce. There's a bunch of different recipes and versions that are out there, but it's a baked oyster essentially with like a topping on it. Mm-hmm. So something like that where it's partially cooked or mostly cooked, I think the texture would change for you, and then you start developing a taste for it, and then we can work backwards.
Yeah.
To all of a sudden that you're like slurping them down.
Like the raw oyster on the back of your throat is not pleasant taste at all. So one other thing that I always look for when I travel is accessibility and how accessible areas are. We've talked many times about my friend Sarah, our friend Sarah, and
that was probably one of my favorite informative episodes. We'll be recapping all of our favorite episodes or whatever in a couple weeks, but closer to New Year's. But but that's one of those things that once you start spending time with somebody who needs accessible travel arrangements. Even after that episode, even though I've known her for a while, after that episode, now when I was traveling, so when I was over in Spain, I was sending you guys pictures of a bathroom that I found that was ideal.
It's so true.
Because you don't realize how difficult things can be. Actually, Crosscut Distillery, I was in their bathroom, and that was the first thing I thought of. I went, oh, they put this at the right height. They put this over here. There's bars over here. Yeah, it's just really well done.
Well, that was, and I do have to say, sorry, but Noosa was very not accessible friendly.
Okay.
Especially, like, we were at Noosa International Resort. It was like be almost like the feeling of an Airbnb, except not. It was a bunch of condos, I think, that people owned, and then the property managers rented them out.
There's a lot of those everywhere.
They were clean, they were bright, but like stairs everywhere, like 2 steps up here, 3 steps down here, and I was just like, this sucks, because I could never bring my friend back here because she just plain couldn't get in.
You should leave her on the beach with a drink.
Which she would be fine with.
She would be so fine.
You know
she would sleep there.
She would. So the photos that I've got to show you here are from Alexandra Heads. It's about 20 minutes from Noosa. Loved Alexandra Heads. I've got a few photos actually of Alexandra Heads to share with you. This would be a good segue into booze actually, because so we can have a drink. This is a ramp going from the beach, or going from, the walkway where the Surf Lifesavers Club is to the beach. But not just that, they also have beach wheelchairs.
Oh, I love those.
Remember we rented the motorized one. We were in LA. We didn't rent, we could borrow it. And I don't know what kind of wheelchair. I didn't get into asking them specifically, but the fact that they have wheelchairs available, that they've got a sign, there's a number on it you can call, and they basically will meet you with a beach wheelchair. And I thought,
that's
how
awesome.
cool.
That is very cool.
To have that kind of accessibility.
Do you think we should be talking to someone to do that here at Bell Park?
Yes, we should.
We should. It's a massive park, and yes, there's a boardwalk and stuff, but you can't go off the boardwalk with a wheelchair.
You are so right.
All right. That's our little project for
next year.
for 2019.
So what else did I want to from? Oh, so the other really cool accessibility piece I'll go into before the booze is I was at, because booze isn't very exciting. Is very exciting.
Says you. Yes. Excuse me. Isn't very exciting.
Is.
Like they said, isn't.
Okay, we put it in here. Okay, so we'll talk about it a bit. I went to high tea on my birthday at the Four Seasons. It was a newer high tea, as one does. I love high tea. It is, and we're going to do a show very soon. I think on high. We need to do one on high tea, and I think we'll do a show on high tea, and we'll figure out where it's going to be and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, perfect.
Okay, so unisex toilet, cool, because we've got a lot of people who identify as one sex or the other or neither. So I thought it was cool. Their sexes were unisex, their toilets were unisex, but they also had this. It was called ambulant toilet.
Interesting.
And I love
ambulant would mean that you need help.
Yeah.
Okay, I got it.
You know, I hate the word disabled. You know, I think it's going I almost wonder if it's going the way of the word retarded.
Correct.
You know, because again, with our girlfriend who's disabled, she is so not disabled. Like, I mean, that wheelchair opens so many doors I can't even tell you. But ambulant, I just really liked it, and I liked that it wasn't just someone in a wheelchair in the picture. Like, it's somebody
you need crutches, you need assistance, you need more space. Yep.
And then they had a wheelchair toilet.
Oh,
because here's the thing. The accessible washroom that someone who is on crutches or uses a walker is not the same as the kind of washroom that someone in a wheelchair, even like a push wheelchair, and is different again from what someone in an electric wheelchair needs. So let's have a glass of wine.
Yes.
I said it was a good segue after Noosa, because on our way back from Noosa, Mark's boss gave us a bottle of wine.
Well, that was very nice.
I actually saved this to have it with you guys.
Oh, I'm so excited.
I've had it for like a month. It's been like burning a hole in my entrance.
Okay, so that all of you who are listening, unfortunately, you're just going to have it vicariously through us.
And you'll have to keep waiting because you can only get it in Australia.
Well, you can plan a trip there.
But it's a Wynn's Coonawarra Estate Shiraz 2016.
I love Shiraz.
So I can have a little bit of that. So Australian wines. Let's talk about them real quick. So it's so funny. So when before I moved to Australia,
I like when she does big pours. Thank you.
I'm like, I thought that was a little pour.
Oh, no. Oh, no. You know, we always do little bits in our house. We do a little at a time. It helps it aerate. Sorry.
Yeah. Just drink your wine.
I was going to say that you're lucky I wasn't pouring. You would have got like a splash or two.
I'd have been sad. Look, just do this and it'll aerate. See?
Spin, baby, spin.
Okay, so when I left for Australia, I was Australian wines are good. I'd had Yellowtail and the B20 bean, whatever.
Sorry, okay, we're not editing that out. I also made a face.
Okay, so my experience was like Lindemans and Yellowtail, and
because those are the big mass marketed. Those are the ones that come to North America.
When I moved to Australia, I learned that, well, at least in my neighborhood, and I love all my friends there, and I shared this story and they laugh about it now, but I called us the Real Desperate Housewives of Brisbane, because the neighborhood that we lived in was known for women who stayed at home with husbands who worked and that kind of thing. Let me clarify, a lot of my friends were professionals who were on like maternity leave and that kind of thing, raising their children, taking a break from their career. But no one drank Australian wine. Everyone drank New Zealand wines. So when I lived there, I drank New Zealand wines and French champagne. So when I went back this time, I made a concentrated effort to drink Australian wines and Australian sparkling. And oh my God, I love Australian sparkling.
Yes. Well, especially if they were up in the area where you were, because one of my favorite regions right now is Hunter Valley, which is close to where we were. Yeah, and they have the lighter reds, really good whites. Sparklings are there. It's a good range, and because there's not as much heat as there is down in the southern parts.
So the two that I drank the most would have been the De Bortoli Prosecco.
I think I was going to sound softly. I think I was there.
You went to that, you probably did, because this is Stephanie. The other one is from Red Bake Winery.
Oh, I don't know that.
It was their Emily sparkling, and it's Chardonnay Pinot Noir.
Oh, nice.
So good. So those were the two kind of main ones, and I've got like you can literally see. So let's look at my picture. See, look, there's champagne, or there's sparkling, and then we do a couple more. And there's more sparkling.
You had bubbles, and more bubbles.
I had more sparkling. It was my high tea with more bubbles. Actually, another one that was nice there as well too. Oh, and I had my sparkling and potato chips one night, and I texted Steph a picture so she could see I had my sparkling and potato chips. Another one I had that I really liked was just Shandong. So Shandong is a winery in Australia. And there's a tie to Moet and Chandon.
Oh, nice.
In France. Yep. And I read it, and I tried to understand more about it. It's like a loose tie that like a son of a son or a cousin, like someone.
Well, it's very similar to...
like the same grapes and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, what they'll do is the people who own that or the production, they'll basically hire out, they buy a piece of land, and they're growing the grapes there and they produce it. But they don't want to call it the same name to... So, Mumm. Mumm's a big champagne producer in France, but then there's Mumm Napa. So they also have a big facility and vineyards in Napa Valley.
So this one's not owned by Moet and Chandon, though. Okay. There was like, what I read, and again, if you go to the Chandon website...
That's interesting they let them use the name then.
Because I think it's his family name. Like there's some kind of a... Because Moet and Chandon's been around forever, right?
And not to mention that most of those houses, it's because they are two families that married together, right?
Exactly. So I think it's a bit of a branched out of the Chandon
I think it was a
family.
Bit of a forced marriage, if I remember my history correctly.
Yes.
They do that over there.
They made pretty wine, so it's okay. So yeah, Chandon, super cheap.
Yep.
Like under $20 a bottle.
Wow.
And fantastic.
Yep.
So those were like my three favorites when I was drinking there. And I literally, and especially because it was hot, it was like refreshing to have like come home in a cold glass of bubbly. I basically lived on champagne the entire time I was there. Sparkling wine.
Thank you.
I know I said
didn't
like,
say
why
it.
did I say that? I know about sparkling wine. Bubbles. We call it bubbles. And the potato chips. Ain't no ketchup chips there.
No.
Ain't no dill pickle.
No, that's a real big Canadian thing.
Yeah. Our favorite was honey soy chicken.
Oh, that sounds good.
So the first one over there, the furthest one away from us, that's the honey soy chicken chips.
Oh, fun. You actually brought me chips?
And I had a big bag of honey soy chicken chips put aside that I brought all the way from Australia for Stephanie.
I love that.
I know. You have like 5 bites now because one of my children ate the other freaking bag. They're good,
my God.
eh? It's like sweet but smoky, but
it sounds like I seriously can...
like you're eating honey soy chicken.
I'm chicken.
I'm not kidding.
Oh my God.
So Red Rock is a popular brand in Australia. And quite frankly, I think I'm going to email my girlfriend Sam and just ask her to like ship me over a couple of boxes.
Oh my God, they're so good.
They can't cost that much to ship because they're so light. I mean, dimensions might be an issue.
Yep.
But they are really good.
Wow, that's good.
Honey soy chicken's like a standard. Like everyone
Maybe
has
they can
honey
put
soy
it on
chicken.
some kind of like shipping container so that it doesn't like going across by boat and it takes like
Just do
3 months
like a
and
wagon train kind of way to get
it just
here.
eventually gets here.
Well, their chips, it's like they expire, but in like 10 years, so it's all good. And then the other one I brought that we'll eat some now and we'll eat some the next time we do sparkling wine, they're salt and black truffle.
Oh, yeah.
Sea salt and black truffle.
Yeah, I've had some truffle ones before because truffle's good with bubbles. It's interesting with the black truffle because usually...
I think that's what it is, my line thing. Yeah, no, sea salt and black truffle.
It's very subtle, which is nice because as you're all getting the crunch in my new mic, I'm finding that I'm very happy. Yes, I also noticed there's a lot of fried food in Australia and a lot of fried other things. But it was, there's always potato chips and stuff like that. And there's a lot of times where I think they even had some at the wineries, like I think at the bar as a palate cleanser, but they would just be plain ones.
Just plain. Yeah, I mean, they have plain chips. But our favorites, like as a family, with the honey soy chicken, they do a sweet chili and sour cream, which we can now get sweet chili and sour cream here
Maybe
in
we
Canada.
can get somebody here to do the honey soy chicken. Liz and Lay's always have a contest.
She is on a roll. You know what I actually did one year? I did enter honey soy chicken in that contest. Never heard anything, but I say we keep entering it.
We're going to keep doing
That's it. So now we're going to do a hashtag Lay's honey soy chicken.
Let's
make
hashtag.
it happen.
Lay's. Yeah.
Let's make it happen.
And everyone just tag Lay's and say you need to do honey,
we need honey soy chicken chips. Call a few peeps at Red Rock. They've got the recipe. You're good to go.
So good.
So with our Shiraz, I wanted to share one of my favorite restaurants. Where's my yummy things? One of my favorite restaurants in the whole world is Max Brenner. So Max Brenner is a chocolate cafe.
Okay.
There's one in New York, which is licensed, which makes the best chocolate martini in the entire world because it is drinking chocolate with booze in it. Like literally drinking
Oh, that's like
melted chocolate.
that's almost
with
like a
booze in it.
milkshake.
No, it's like drinking it's like drinking fondue.
Oh, see, that's too much for me.
Oh, no, it's good. You lighten it up with a little bit of cream. It's fine.
Okay.
So Max Brenner, we went to I think 3 times when we were there. Max Brenner in Australia has been going through some trouble. They actually in the worldwide they've been going through some trouble. They've closed a lot of stores. I'm heartbroken. My old one that I used to go to all the time in South Bank was looking a little run down, but the staff were really lovely. The chocolate was still amazing. So I was talking with Steph before the show. I'm like, what pairs well with the Shiraz? Because we've got a bunch of things. She's like, chocolate. Well, I happen to bring the best chocolate in the world to have with our Shiraz. So Max Brenner chocolate. So you can actually, if you look for Max Brenner on the web, please order from them online.
I'll put a link. We'll put a link in the show notes.
Because I really want them to stay in business because the chocolate is absolutely incredible. I literally bring home, I brought him a big thing of the white chocolate because my favorite hot drink, the soothing, make me feel good, is a white chocolate chai. So it's chai tea done with milk. And well, when they do it, they actually put like a white chocolate ganache right in it.
Wow.
I don't have the machine to make the white chocolate ganache the same way they do, but I make my, I do a chocolate chip chai. So in Australia, you get the chocolate chip chai from T2. In Canada, we can get it at David's Tea and those kinds of places. And I steep it in milk instead of in water. Mm-hmm. And then I also add in the white chocolate. So these like white chocolate chips or shavings of white chocolate in it. It is my favorite feel good, like that's my Christmas morning drink.
Wow.
It is so good. So this picture that we have here is my white chocolate chai. I actually, David's Tea and Tivana weren't around when I first moved there. So the only place I actually ordered these online from the manufacturer. I have these tea infusers.
Oh, beautiful.
Where you put it on the top of the glass and it comes out the bottom. I actually ordered them from the manufacturer in like India or Lebanon or somewhere. So I have 4 of them in my basement somewhere, which is good because mine have all broken and I need new ones. But I just love it. It's like an experience of making the tea and eating. And the chocolate, I literally go there and order chocolate with strawberries. And in Australia at the time, there's this horrible thing where someone would put needles in a bunch of strawberries. So we're like,
there's a lot of news things about that even this fall, like not just strawberries, but there's been a lot of instances
they
where
literally took strawberries out of like grocery stores and restaurants. You had notices everywhere that you will not get whole strawberries. Like this is normally served with whole strawberries. It's served with quartered strawberries, so you make sure there's no needles in it before they give them to people.
the fact that you have to do that's pretty.
It's
sad.
awful. So I'm gonna have some chocolate with my wine because this is literally my favorite milk chocolate.
I'm not even. Oh, and it's milk chocolate too.
I know it's not dark chocolate. Sorry.
No,
I love milk chocolate.
I actually like milk chocolate, but I know dark's better for me.
I don't care. It's so good. Because there's no like chalky aftertaste. It's just pure, fatty, milky, yummy.
It's fat.
It is. It's very yummy. So Max Brenner chocolate. Definitely, if you're in Australia, you can also get it. There's one in Boston. There's one in New York for sure. There used to be one in Vegas. That's where I tried the chocolate martinis the first time, but they closed, which made me very sad. So that was a plug out for my friends at Max Brenner because I don't know what they've done with their money that it's all gone, but I want them to earn more money again.
Well, I'm also wondering that, I mean, that's something that's like very, you treat yourself to it, right? So everybody is so health conscious and staying away from like carbs and everyone's on some kind of damn diet. Not knocking it. Hey, if that's how you want to eat, that's fine. As I just served like pork belly last night.
We're eating right now. There's nothing healthy anywhere here.
Nothing. It's Friday. Not supposed to have anything healthy. That's the whole thing. It's all about balance, right? But there's some people who are very strict on how they eat. And if depending on the trends or what's going on in that particular town, it might just be they're not getting enough sales.
I don't know. Certainly where we were, like South Bank. So one thing I didn't mention about Brisbane that I really should. South Bank is a major draw for Brisbane. They had, there was a World Expo back when they used to do them.
Yep.
On the banks of Brisbane. And afterwards, that area became like just a dump. Similar to, and I hate to say this, but when I was in Calgary 15 years ago, the Olympic Park there was in shambles. So these places, the cities put a lot of money into them and then they close and they're just left because they can't maintain them. So the city put together, there was fundraising, whatever else, and they put together this absolutely beautiful family cultural precinct.
Oh.
So they've got the Gallery of Modern Art, they've got the Queensland Museum, they've got the Science Museum, they've got, there's another more traditional art museum. There's a playhouse, a few different playhouses. So we go and see, like if they have tours coming through of like Wicked or Mamma Mia, those kinds of Broadway type plays, they go and they play at the playhouse. They have ballets on there regular. Like, it's a beautiful cultural precinct. Half of it is free. The Gallery of Modern Art is free. The Queensland Museum is free. A bunch of them is all free to go and experience. Like, we would go and spend the day at South Bank and just do all of the things. Then there's food and there's bars and there's a man-made lagoon as well too. So you're overlooking the Brisbane River, which like you're afraid to touch because it's so brown. You're not touching the Brisbane River. Okay. It's literally brown. But there's a lagoon, so it's got a beach with all this kind of water play area that overlooks the river. So it's such a beautiful space for families and for the community.
So we could have sat here all night. Well, we probably will be after
We're going to keep talking.
We're going to keep talking through this. We still have a whole cheese board we haven't touched yet. Some other nibbles and stuff in the fridge. But this is kind of more what we're going to be looking at going forward. Not necessarily always Cynthia going to Australia. Or
Cynthia talking for like 6 hours on end.
But we want it to be a little bit more conversational, more about kind of sitting around and having drinks at a restaurant or a bar. Talking to other people. We want to have more special guests coming up. We're going to be on the road a lot more. So make sure you're following us on all the social media channels. Make sure you're subscribing and rating us on all the podcast players, including the one that you're listening to us on right now. And then, of course, make sure you follow us on the YouTube channel, just so we can kind of keep an eye on who's kind of watching some of our videos.
Yeah, nice
who's
to be able
where.
to kind of like...
Yeah, because if there's enough people in one area, we're just going to kind of bring the show there.
Yes.
And including all of our drinks and treats and things. And maybe Cynthia will bring her Family Feud game on the road.
Yes, we can totally take Family Feud on the road.
Anyways, we really appreciate it. Again, thank you very much for listening. And so we only have a few episodes left for 2018. So make sure you're following along so you can see what's coming up for next year.
Cheers.
What do you think about us podcasters doing this whole video thing? If you like what you see and you still have wine in your glass, there's more videos down below that you can always keep up. Or subscribe and you'll never miss another one.